Hello again, sports designers. Mike with Sports Templates back with you again, and I am pumped to show you this new soccer template just in time for World Cup, okay? As always, before we get started, make sure you head down below, hit the like and subscribe buttons, and you'll also find a link to the asset library used in this design so you can follow along. So before we get into this awesome design where I'm going to show you how to make this Argentina versus Brazil head-to-head team versus team matchup graphic, I want to show you everything you get with this template. So you're going to get what you see here, which is the team versus team view. You've got two avatars with the opposite facing each other, and also two flags, so you can put graphics on the flags behind. You've got the stadium scene in the background, the text included. With the uniforms, you can turn on the actual avatar, mannequin, whatever you want to call it. Turn those off or on in each of the uniforms. You're also going to get the front uniform in its own template in case you just want to do that, and also the back. So you can do a front view, back view, whatever you want to do. And you'll also get this combo view with the front and back together so that you can do designs that show both sides of the uniform at the same time. So all that's included with your purchase. And so let's get started on this awesome design. I'm going to bring it up on my other screen so that I don't have to distract you with it, but we're going to focus on matching this as closely as possible. And to make that easier, again, there's a link in the description to the asset library so you can follow along if you want to. So it's got all of the colors and the different graphics that we're going to be using to create this design. As we work through it, as I start to do some repetitive stuff, I'll speed up the video just to save some time and keep you from getting too bored. You don't need to see me do the same exact things over and over again. But let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to turn this off so we can just focus on our blank slate. And I'm just kind of going to work top to bottom in the layers panel here. So we're going to start with the left uniform. And we're going to go ahead and get into the editable parts. I'm just going to move this up to give us a little more room. And this is where we're going to start to edit the different parts of the uniform. So I'm going to start with the jersey. And I'm just going to go through and make all the changes to the different parts of the jersey. So each layer has, or each group has a whole bunch of different layers in it that allow you to edit the different parts of the jersey. So if we look here, we're editing the design on the back of the collar. And for this one, there isn't really a design on it. So we're just going to turn that off. And let's go ahead and set the collar color. We're going to set it to this dark gray color that we have here. Actually, I think we're going to do a little bit darker, and we'll just do this black color. The label color, there's a small label. Let me zoom in a little bit more. I'm just hitting Control or Command and the plus key on my keyboard to zoom in. I'm going to hit Control H to hide my transform box so you can see there's actually a tag in there. So you can change the color of that here if you want to. I'm just going to leave it alone. I'm not going to change that. There's some other parts of our collar here that if your collar has a design on it, you can change those. This one is just a solid dark color, so we're just going to turn those off. This is to edit this stripe that runs under the collar, and we're not going to do anything with that either. So we'll just turn that off, and we're going to change it to like a white color, or an almost white color. This is actually more of an off-white in the library. So if you want to do more of like a pure white, we can do that, and I'll add that too. I'll call it pure white. So that'll be in the library for you. This is for the seam, the stitching that runs along the jersey, and we'll just make that white as well. Make the back of the jersey white. The torso design smart object, that's where we're going to add the actual design on our jersey. I'm going to turn it off for now just so we can get all our colors to set. So again, let's make the jersey white. Here's the side part of the jersey. Here's the back of the jersey. So you can change all the different parts. And then we have our sleeve designs. Turn those off for now. And those are the ones that go around the cuffs here. We'll make that the pure white. And then these are the shoulder designs. We're going to turn those off. We're going to make that white. And that also includes the back inside of the jersey. So now all the colors are set. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Just Control or Command and the minus key. I'm going to hold down the space bar to get my little hand grab tool there and just position that so we can see the whole front of the jersey. And let's go ahead and go back up to the top and get started where the smart objects come into play that we're going to be using. So we're going to go into the torso design, double click on that smart object, and I'm going to go ahead and turn off the grid. I'm going to set my background to the white so it's the same color as the jersey and kind of see what we're working with. And then I'm going to start placing the different design elements on here. So there's a couple things I need, and again, these are in the asset library up here. I'll make a little more room. Let's start with the Argentina logo. So we're going to drop that in, and it's way too big, so we're just going to scale it down and just get it up here somewhere in the left chest area. It's right on the screen, but we're facing the uniform, so it's the left side of the player. And then we need an Adidas logo. So we're going to drop this in and scale this down a lot and just kind of vertically align it. So Photoshop will kind of help you out, and the center will line up with that purple and magenta line. Now I'm going to hold the Alt key and I'm going to just kind of shrink that shrinks it from all sides. Now an interesting thing here, and for any of you who don't have a lot of experience with layer masks or anything, this will be helpful. The Adidas logo that I want to use for the mock-up, it actually doesn't have Adidas underneath. It just says, it just has the 3 stripes. So I just want to take that out, but I don't want to like erase it because then I've completely lost it, and I may want to use it later and have the Adidas there. So I'm going to just use my rectangular marquee tool, and I'm going to draw a box around it. And I'm trying to be perfect with the bottom of the 3 stripes. And then I have my Adidas logo selected. I'm going to add a layer mask here. And depending on your settings, your mask may be added to block out what you've selected, or in this case, it's showing what we've selected. And you can change the settings on that, but I usually just leave it that way by default. And I'm going to go ahead and click on my layer mask. I'm going to hold down Control or Command if you're using a Mac, and I'm going to hit the I key, and that's going to invert my mask. So now I'm showing only the Adidas logo. Now I do want to move that down a little bit just to get it kind of closer to center, and I'm just guessing right now on kind of where it needs to go. If you hold the Shift key and you drag in one direction or the other, it'll kind of prevent you from moving too far in the other direction. Okay, so that's pretty close to where I want these actually. I'm going to do some more stuff here in a second that'll help me get a little bit closer to where I want to be. So this particular uniform has a stripe pattern on it. Just to show you again. So there's a stripe pattern on here that we can see, and we want to just try to mimic that. And then we can actually align our logos a little bit better to the stripes. So to do the stripes, we need to use the shape tool, right, to make some rectangles. And there's a couple ways to do that. We could grab the shape tool and start drawing some new shapes. I'm just gonna duplicate this background layer. I just pressed Control or Command J, and then I'm going to change the color. So I'm going to set it to the light blue color, and then if I hold the Alt and the Shift key down while I drag from the side, I can just narrow it down. And so I'm going to go maybe about that wide. And then I need a couple more. So I'm going to hold down the Alt key, and you can see my cursor turns into 2 arrows. Then I'm going to click and drag over to make another one. And the Argentina logo is basically centered right on the edge of the blue, where the blue and the white meet. Now, that's where I placed a stripe right now to center with the Argentina logo, but I want my white and blue to be pretty close to even. So I'm going to just drag this over a little bit until I feel like that's a good placement. And then I'm going to go back to this one. I'm going to click on it. I'm going to hold Alt again and click and drag. And Photoshop will tell you like it is there when they're evenly spaced. So 296 pixels. So that's pretty good. I'm going to hit Control or Command S to save so I can go get a look at my placement. And I'm pretty happy with that. It's not exactly where I want them. So I actually want them to be a little bit thinner. So I'm going to select them all. I'm just holding the Shift key while I click each one to select them all. And then I'm going to do the same thing I did before. I'm going to hold Alt and Shift, and I'm going to drag from the inside just to kind of narrow them down a little bit. And I might actually just try to line it up kind of perfectly with that middle of that Argentina logo. Hit Control or Command S. And that is a lot closer to where I wanted those to be. So I'm happy with that. I'm actually happy with the Argentina placement, other than it needs to move up a little bit. So I'm going to move that up just a little bit. I'm going to hold the Shift key and drag up, and that way it doesn't move left or right when I'm doing it. And then Adidas I'm going to move up as well, and I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. So I'm holding Alt while I drag outward, and I'm going to move it a little bit to the left just to be aligned center with the blue and white stripe. Okay, that looks great. Totally happy with that. So next is we're going to place our number. So I've recreated the number here for Lionel Messi, number 10. It's in the asset library, so you can just drop it in. And it's pretty small on the sample, but it does extend just a little bit out past the blue. So I'm going to hold Alt and drag it out to about there. Hold Shift and just move it down just a little. And then again, Control or Command S just to save and see where we're at. Okay, and I am happy with that. I'm going to zoom out, and that looks great. So let's move on to the next part of our jersey. We actually have some stuff here on the sides. Now in the sample, I did it by placing some stripes here on the torso design layer, but I'm actually going to utilize the different parts of the template here that have color fill layers to just fill these in and sort of mimic what I was going for there. And that one, didn't, oh, you know what? These are actually hidden behind the jersey, the torso design. So it's actually going to be better to do what I did originally. So we'll just go back in here, and we're just going to add a couple more things. So let's click on this one. Let's drag it over here. And same thing here. So again, I'm holding the Alt key when I drag these over, just to make a copy. And then I'm going to double click, I'm sorry, not double click, I'm going to hold Shift, and I'm going to click from one to the other in the layers panel to select them both. Actually, that's not the right one. Click on that one, hold Shift on that one, hit Control or Command J, and now we have a copy of each. I'm going to set those to black. And then I just want to maybe move that one over a little bit. I'm going to hold the Shift key and drag just to move it over a little bit. And I'm going to do the same thing on this one. And we're sort of creating a black and blue stripe on the side. Now you can see these are running totally vertical, and we need to kind of bend them along there. So, and we can't really see the other side, so let's not worry about that. But I'm going to grab these two. Let's put them together up here. Okay, so I'm going to grab these two. We'll just hit Control, or sorry, we'll right click and we'll do rasterize layers. Then we'll hit Control E to merge them. If we merge them before rasterizing them, it just becomes one shape and you can't have separate colors. So I'm going to merge them like that, and then I'm going to do Edit, Transform, Warp. And I just want to drag kind of over, you know, something like this, to kind of try to mimic the side of the jersey where there's kind of a bend to it. And you can customize this as much as you want to, right? You could get really intricate with it, but I'm just gonna try to mimic it just a little bit. So it's closer. I think we need a little bit more of a dramatic bend here. So we'll just go back to Edit, Transform, Warp. And we'll just drag this over. And I want to make sure I'm dragging using these little anchor points here too. So that, see, if I just drag from there, it's sort of bending the blue over. Bending the black over the blue. And we want to make sure we preserve some of that blue. And this isn't going to match the sample exactly, but it's just the idea, right? Okay, so that's a little bit closer. Now we've sort of got it running along the bend, and maybe I'll bend the top back just a little bit more. Just bend this part back this way just a little bit more. Not too much. Okay, and that's much better. It's sort of running along the sort of bend of the jersey there. So that's gonna work great. Okay, let's go to our sleeves. So we want to change the color of these. That's perfect. No design on them, so it makes it easier. We do, however, have a design on our shoulders. So let's turn those on. And oh, you know what? I noticed something here. Let me back up. We can kind of see these stripes on the front, and we actually don't want to. So I'm just going to go ahead and turn those off. Could delete them as well, but it's fine. Those wouldn't actually be showing up there. At least I don't want them to. So as far as I'm concerned, they're on the side of the jersey that we can't see. Okay, back to the shoulders. Let's turn those on. Double click to open up the smart object. I'm going to go ahead and close the other one. Set my background to my white color. And we need to get some striping on the shoulder that is meant to mimic the Adidas 3-stripe pattern. So I'm going to again select this background layer since it's already a rectangle shape. I'm going to hit Control or Command J. I'm going to change it to black. I'm going to hold down the Alt and the Shift keys and bring this in. Make a thin stripe, and I want it in the middle. And I don't want it to go all the way down, so I'm going to grab it from here, and I'm going to hold the Shift key while I drag it so that I can bring it up, and I'll just put it there on the center for now. Then I'm going to hold the Alt key and click and drag another one. And I want to space them evenly so it looks pretty close. Alright. Now I'm going to hit Control or Command S to save and go back out and kind of see how they turned out. So the pattern is good, it's just a little too far to the front. I want it a little bit further back on the shoulder. So I'm going to select all three, click on one, hold the Shift key, click on the other. Then I'm going to hold Shift and I'm going to drag. Oh, I hate when Photoshop does that. Sometimes lately Photoshop's been doing that weird thing where I have all three selected, and then when I go to move them, it doesn't move them all. I'm sure it's some sort of setting that I haven't changed. Could be this. So a way around that, if that's happening to you, is again select all three and then just click any one of these areas on your transform box to sort of activate the movement. And now all three are selected, and if I hold Shift and drag to the left, they're all going to move, but they're only going to move horizontally. They won't move vertically unless I like really push the mouse hard. So I just want to control the horizontal movement and don't have to worry about any vertical movement. Okay, so moved them back. I think that looks much better. So now we just need to do the same thing on the other side. So to save some work, I'm going to leave my first smart object open. I'm going to go to my other one. I'm going to set my background color. And then I'm going to go back to my first smart object. I already have these three selected. So I'm going to right click on them. I'm going to say duplicate layers, and I'm going to choose my other smart object. And now they're going to be there for me. Now I probably want to move them in the other direction, right? Because it's the opposite sleeve. So let's hit Control or Command S. And you know, maybe I didn't want to move in that direction. Let's go back this way and see. Sometimes it's just trial and error, right? You got to play with these things and see where they come out. So actually, I want to move it further in the other direction is the issue because of the perspective. So let's put it way over here. We really shouldn't see too much of this, again, because of the perspective. So this is still way too far forward. So I really just want to move it like way over here and kind of see what happens. We're not going to see all three stripes. We're really just going to see a little bit of one, and so we're getting close, but I still think that's showing too much. So let's just move it over a little bit more. And I'm just hitting Control or Command S every time to save. That's better. I think it's a little weird there, but the space from the seam is pretty close. I might move it just a little bit more. Okay, that's good. I'm happy with that, right? So we can see that there are stripes over there. You can catch a little bit of it kind of right here, and then it kind of wraps around the shoulder. So I'm happy with that. That looks great. We've made our Argentina jersey. Now let's move on to the shorts. So to make it easier to get around in my layers panel, I'm just going to minimize the jersey group, and I'm going to open up the shorts group. And the shorts here are pretty easy. I'll just turn off all the smart objects that control the two legs, and I'm going to select all three of the color toggles, the color fill layers for the different legs and the shorts as a whole, and I'm just going to set those to black. Okay, and then I might even go, we can go darker black if we want to. I'm using the black that I have for the background color. Let me add another black. We'll just do pure black. Okay, I'm going to add a pure black. So you can see the difference, right? With pure black selected, it's really black. This is kind of a really dark gray that I was using, so I'll just change it all to pure black. And you can really see kind of the texture, right? A whole bunch of reflections coming off of there. A lot of detail. You don't lose too much of that, even if you go pure black, right? If you had a photo like this, a lot of it would be lost in the darkest parts as well. But you can see a lot of detail here. So let's add our designs. Left leg design, right? Again, it's the leg of the player. We just need to drop the number on that. So again, I'm going to turn off my grid. I'm going to change my background color. And I'm going to drop my number 10 on there. Now, my number 10 is currently almost black. I need to change it to white. Now, this is not a color fill or a shape, so if I change my color, it does not change the color of this because it's basically a rasterized asset from the cloud library. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go down here to my FX, and I'm going to add a color overlay. And it's already got my pure white. That was my foreground color selected. I'm going to hit Control or Command S. So that's a way where you can change the color without doing anything destructive or permanent to your image. I'm going to hit Control or Command S, and I'm going to go back and check the placement. And that's actually really where I want it and the right size as compared to my reference image. So now let's go over to the player's right leg. And on this one, there's a couple things we need to do. So again, we're going to turn off the grid. We're going to change our background color. We're going to grab our Argentina logo and drop that in. Need to size it down quite a bit. And I'm just guessing here, but it's probably gonna go somewhere over here. And then the shorts have a 3-stripe pattern again. I'll go ahead and select my background layer. I'm gonna duplicate it, and I'm going to change the color of this one to the light blue. And then I'm just gonna hold down the Alt and the Shift key to bring it in horizontally from the center. Actually, if I don't hold the Alt key and I just hold Shift, it'll just go all the way to the side because I need them over here on the side anyway. And in case you noticed in the beginning, if I hold Alt and I don't hold Shift, it comes in from all sides, right? So I just want it to go from one side to the other. And I don't want it to go to the center, which is what holding Alt does. So I'm gonna hold Shift and just drag to the left. And then I'm gonna hold Alt and drag to the right to make another one. And then I'm gonna make one more. And I wanna turn the middle one white. I have a feeling these are way too far over and we're gonna have to move them, but let's just see. Actually, they're pretty close. I'm gonna move the stripes a little bit to the right so we can see them all, and the Argentina logo needs to go a lot to the right. So let's just drag this over here. And let's move the stripes over like this. Hit Control or Command S. That is a lot better. I think my stripes are a little too far forward now, but the Argentina logo's basically where I want it. It's a little big. I want it to be about the same size as the 10. So I'm just gonna scale that down a bit. I'm gonna take my stripes and move them to the left just a little bit. And again, Control or Command S to get a preview. And that's perfect. That's exactly how I want it. So we're getting close. We just need to do our socks, our shoes, and our flag. So let's minimize the shorts group and we'll open up the boots and socks. So we got a pretty simple design on the reference, just a white sock with 3 stripes along the top here. So I'm gonna go ahead and set my sock color to white. And you can see if I turn off my smart objects, it's there. Start on the right sock, turn off the background, again, set the background to white so I can see what I'm working with. And I'm just gonna hit Control or Command J and then change it to black. I'm gonna hold Shift and I'm gonna drag to the top. And then I'm gonna, with that selected, I'm gonna hold the Alt key and Shift and drag down. I wasn't holding Shift, now I am. And do it again, Control or Command S. And there we go, we've got 3 stripes. Now, you can get really precise with this. If you zoom in, you can see where your stripes are landing in relation to the part of the sock that's folded over. And I actually like this placement. The bottom stripe is right on the bottom edge. But if you wanted to move them up and have them just be on the fold, you can do that. There's a couple different things you can do. You can see all the texture of the sock, right? It looks just like the real thing. You can even see the shin guard underneath. So that's really cool. So zoom out just a little bit. And I'm going to close the shorts designs and let's move to our left sock. Again, turn off the grid, turn your background white, and rather than make the stripes again, I'm just going to select them all and duplicate them over. And then hit Control or Command S. And now you see we've got matching stripes. And here you're seeing the inside of the sock because of the perspective and the angle, that's why it's white there. All right, let's move on to the shoes, or the boots, as we like to call them. For these, we can change the color of so many different things, like the tab on the tongue. I'm going to set that to this dark gray color. The laces, I'll set those to our light Argentina blue. The color of the shoe itself, I'm just set to white, and that's sort of the inner liner. And then another one is that little edge that runs right along there. I don't know if you can see it. If I turn it off, you can see it come and go. And then we have the actual designs that go over the shoes. I'll make sure the shoes themselves are set to pure white. The sole I'm going to set to this dark gray. And then the spikes themselves I'm going to set to the light blue. Now I do need to add some logos onto, well, actually just onto this right shoe. So the left shoe, I'll keep that turned off because I don't have an inner side logo on it in my sample image. And actually I did want to change the color of this to light blue. That's better. On my right shoe, I do have an Adidas logo on the side there. So again, change our background color to pure white. Now, how we add this is pretty interesting. I'm not going to use... I could use the actual Adidas logo, but I'm going to show you how to sort of make one that fits the shoe better. So I'm going to copy that using Control or Command J. I'm going to change it to dark gray. I'm going to hold Alt and Shift, and I'm just going to shrink into from the middle and get a stripe that I like. Then I'm going to duplicate it and duplicate it again. Again, we got that 3-stripe pattern. And then I just want to hold Shift, and I'm going to bring those down quite a bit. And then I want to hold Control, and you see when I hold Control, I get that little side-to-side arrow when I'm on this particular control point. So I'm going to hold Control and Shift, and I'm going to drag to the left. And that's just skewing it to make it look like the slant of the Adidas logo that you sometimes see on the shoes. Then I'm going to just drag this whole thing while I'm holding Shift a bit to the left. And I'm just going to place it there. I'm going to hit Control or Command S and just see how it turned out. So there it is. Now that's not where I want it. It's a little too much on the toe. So I'm going to drag it further to the left. There goes Photoshop doing that fun stuff again. Drag it further to the left. Hit Control or Command S. And that's better. That is a lot closer to where I want it. Now if we wanted to, for some additional realism, we could play with the perspective a little bit. And I might do that because I do want to move it a little bit more to the left. And then if you think about sort of, let me just save this and show you on the shoe. With the way the shoe looks, you don't need to worry about this too much because it already looks, pretty good. But we could sort of play with that perspective a little bit. So if you want to do that, you can hold the Control key and then grab any corner of this and just move it. So you kind of get an idea, like if the way the shoe's facing, this front part would be a little bigger to us, and this back part would be a little smaller because it's kind of going along the back of the shoe. You can make it really dramatic, right? You don't need to go that far. But just kind of playing with the perspective a little bit, just to see what it does, and probably won't even notice it too much, but you can get really dramatic with it. So there you see kind of maybe a little bit more of a curve up as it goes back. I think that looks good. So I'm going to hit Control 0 just to zoom all the way out, and we can see what that looks like. While I'm thinking about it, I'm just going to go all the way down to the bottom. I'm going to change the background color to this, to change it to black. I want to show you this because this background, the way it's designed, it works best with dark colors. So I just want to show you some ideas and give you a tip on some things to avoid. So make sure you use dark colors. If you use this dark blue still kind of works. If you use a light color though, you're gonna lose a lot of the stadium, and that's just because of the way the lighting is on this. So what you can do is you can always just kind of go in and drag it around until you're happier with the way things are looking. So that's just a tip for this one, especially if you're using uniforms that have kind of a light color. You'll want to avoid light colored backgrounds because you're not going to get as much contrast, and you're just not going to see everything that you want to see. So again, I'm going to set this to this dark, almost black color for our background. Okay, let's get into the flag on the left. So I'm going to minimize the boots and socks group and I'm actually gonna minimize the left uniform group and open up the left flag. And there is one smart object for the flag design. There's one for the color of the flag itself. I'm gonna go ahead and change the color of the flag to the Argentina light blue. And I'm gonna go into the flag design. Change the background color here too, just so we're kind of working consistently on the colors. And for this one, we're just going to replicate the Argentina flag. So it's just simple stripe pattern and then this Argentina sun. It has a name, I don't remember, I'm sorry, in the middle. So I made a copy of the background layer. I'm gonna turn it white, and then I'm gonna hold Alt and Shift and drag toward the center in order to bring that in. And I want all three of my stripes to be almost the same, or really the same. So I'm gonna just eyeball this, and that looks good. And then I'm gonna grab my sun and drop it in here. And I'm just gonna align it vertically and horizontally in the center. Okay. And I don't need to resize it, I'm happy with that sizing. Control or Command S to save. I better turn on the design. And there we have our flag design. So that's it. That's how easy it is to actually go through and do one of the uniforms and one of the flags. I'm going to speed the video up now while I do the other one. And when it's done, I'll come back and show you a couple more things before we wrap up. Okay, there we have it. Uniforms are done, flags are done. So, a couple more things I want to show you before we wrap up here. As always, these templates include what we call dynamic lighting, which allows you to change the light to fit whatever scene or look you're trying to go for. And these are already lit, you know, in a really nice way, but maybe there's something you want to change. So if you go into each group, right, there's a dynamic lighting layer at the top. If you turn that on, you can see it's already got some additional lighting happening. Turn it off, turn it back on. Okay, and if you want to adjust that, it's just like any other smart object. Let me close these others out just to make some room. If you double click into it, you can see how the light is set up and you can change it. You can choose any of these adjustment layers, go to the properties and just start making changes, right? And this will change the way the light comes in. So if you want a whole bunch of light coming from the right side, you can do something like that, hit Control or Command S, and you come back out and you can see now there's a lot of light on that side. We can turn it off and turn it on so you can see the difference. So let me zoom out, right? So if you had some sort of really dramatic light source that you wanted to do. So that's available in both uniforms and on both flags. If you wanted to adjust the lighting, you can do that. So great look at the full picture. Let's zoom in just to take a look at some of these details, right? I'm hitting Control or Command and plus on the key to zoom in. You can see all the texture on the flag. You can see all the texture on the jersey. Again, you can see the little tag in there. You can see the stitches. Let's zoom in even further. You can see the tag and the stitches on the jersey, the different textures on the different parts, right? All the seams. You get into the shorts, the same thing, right? Socks, the shoes, or the boots, right? All the texture on the laces, the tongue, shoes themselves, got shadowing on the floor. So really, really awesome. Cool way to do a presentation of two teams facing each other. You could even do maybe two different uniforms for the same team. Put whatever you want on the flags, right? To make them look however you want. So really, really hope you enjoyed this video and had a chance to follow along using the asset library. Hope you had as much fun as I did. Make sure you head over to sportstemplates.net, pick up this new template, again, it comes with the view that you see here. It also comes with the front view and the back view. So it's basically like getting 3 templates in one, or at least makes it easier for you if you just want to isolate the front or the back view of the uniform without having the whole team versus team setup. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons and leave us a comment down below. Let us know what you'd like to see next. We're always looking for ideas and suggestions from our customers. So let us know what you'd like to see and we will put it on the list.